Hey y'all, welcome back to the Medicinal Melange podcast. I'm Elizabeth. I'm a clinical herbalist, medical astrologer, and that one Virgo friend who will lovingly read your entire birth chart and maybe your nervous system. This is where we take the guesswork out of your wellness journey and take back your autonomy in healing your own body, aligning with your birth chart and shedding light on the highest self's actual timeline, not the one that capitalism tries to rush you through. If you're into no BS astrology, radical self honesty, and levels of devotion to yourself you were told was too much, you're in the right place. Now that I have a few months of playing around with this podcast and moving in the middle of everything, the little cherry on top, I decided that these weekly podcasts will start with the astrology for the week ahead and also have a learning segment. So today, the 18th, Mercury stations retrograde at 15 degrees Leo. And this day is really intense. Mercury is locked in at 15 degrees because Mercury was moving forward, right? We're moving forward, but we need to slow down before we reverse. You can't just go from driving forward to going reversed. And so it's going to be at its slowest technically Mercury is the fastest planet, but it becomes the slowest planet this week, today specifically, because it's been slowing down since the 14th of the month, and it will last until about the 21st as it makes that transition from going forward to going retrograde. This is mental heat that isn't ready to move forward quite yet. It's like, nah, something's holding me back. And everyone will feel these Mercury in Leo body signals. But if you've got any fixed signs, especially those at 15 degrees, you'll definitely feel it in your body. It might manifest as tight chest, your racing mind, lungs constricting, maybe even a full body, why am I freaking out right now moment. Energetically, it could be your nervous system telling you you're holding in too much truth. So let it move, speak, create, scream into your pillow, journal, talk shit with people you know and trust, like something. Because then we also add Mars conjunct the South Node in Virgo. And conjunct means that it's right on top of. Especially if we're talking about transits, we want an orb of like 1 or 2 degrees, nothing wider than that. So we add Mars conjunct the South Node in Virgo. That is gut inflammation. It is overthinking and it manifesting in our gut. It is decision fatigue. I always recommend on days like this to eat half of the portion you think you want, because overeating is congestion right now, especially when your system is already hot and fiery because the ruler of Virgo is Mercury and it's slowing down in the hottest part, Leo, which is ruled by the sun. Personally, anytime it's Leo season, but especially right now because we have that Mercury retrograde in Leo, I love to brew my Aphrodite tea. It's really cooling. It tonifies. It moves excess water out of my system so I'm not in the 40 and up lady club fucking boiling internally all summer. If you haven't tried it yet, definitely check out my Aphrodite tea. It's a game changer for Leo season. On Sunday, the moon is going to be conjunct Uranus and Gemini. This is definitely your insomnia night. If you have a Gemini moon already, you already know you're up all night anyway, thinking about all the shit you have to do the next day. They're scrolling, they're planning, they're scripting their whole life at 1 a.m. But then you throw the electric planet of Uranus into the mix, and then your brain's running like on Windows 95, but you have like Google Fiber and 37 tabs open. So it's like the two things do not compute, To counter the planets that are in play here, increase alternative herbs, because that's going to help with the oxygenation in your body and your brain. I love to let anybody with like strong Uranus kind of currents going through their body to get more sunlight. Let the sunlight touch your body during the day and unplug from the blue light as much as possible. Even 10 minutes helps. Don't just dim the screen, like actually turn it off. Herb-wise, California poppy is absolutely my go-to to help with sleep if you're needing herbal support. I make a blend called Somnio that calms the nervous system and has you lights out in like do not disturb mode within 30 minutes. If you have not tried Somnio, I definitely suggest it. It has California poppy and passion flower. Monday, July 21st. Guess what? Mercury is still stationed. Yep, we're at 15 degrees. It's the 15-degree Leo bottleneck. The stories from Friday are still looping in your mind. You don't need to fix them. You just need to stop buying into them. Remember, this is in Leo, so we are rethinking if these narratives we tell ourselves are still who we are, or if they ever were. Sometimes we tell ourselves the narratives that we hear. Let your mind slow down by moving your body more intentionally throughout the day. Tuesday, July 22nd, the sun enters Leo. And I'm very excited because I've been looking forward to this day for a very long time. First of all, at the time of this recording, we're in Cancer season. And what I'm about to talk about may have me boo-hooing. And my very dry, very business-like Capricorn moon doesn't love that. we don't love a blubbery moment. But I've been looking forward to this day because Jupiter and the sun have both been in Cancer, but Jupiter has been in the shadow of the sun. Now that the sun is in Leo, we can all finally enjoy that fucking placement of Jupiter in Cancer. It'll start bringing that abundance that we expect from Jupiter. My only caveat here is to remember that Jupiter is not just give planet. This is a I bless you, you bless me planet. So show some gratitude in big ways. Yes, you can write down your gratitude, but maybe show up for your community in big ways so that way those blessings come back to you even more with Jupiter in Cancer. We're moving out of this hyper emotional, moody waters of Cancer and into direct peacocky, emphasis on the cocky heat of Leo. I work with a lot of Leos, and I know that we are actually all very excited to get into Leo season. I mean, for me, it's my 12th house, and I've felt like I've done more work in my Leo 12th house this year than ever before. Really, this Leo ingress is needed because it dries out that emotional sogginess of Cancer and brings in this solar fire back into the mix. Wednesday, July 23rd, the sun is sextile Uranus. And now in medical astrology, if it's a good placement like sextile, I don't really mess with it too much. Like sometimes there's important sextiles, but for the most part, we could leave it. But this is a great day for creative breakthroughs because we have the sun in Leo and then we have good communication. So the sun and Uranus are communicating, but it's like, hey girl, you want to go out? Like, yeah, let's do that. Let's collab. This is a great day for creative breakthroughs, but only if you don't overplan it. We don't need to have Virgo energy. We need to have Leo energy that's like, bitch, I'm going to shine no matter what. So if you've been sitting on an idea that feels a little out there, maybe a little risky, but risky and genius, this is the day to run with it. Get in a room with people, collaborate. Don't sit on the downloads that you're getting. Don't wait until it's perfect. Gemini, sometimes, especially if your Gemini is in your 12th house, that's a little analysis paralysis. So don't wait until you think it's perfect. This is like flash in the pan energy, and it's really important that we all move with it. And then finally, next Thursday, the new moon is in Leo. Very exciting. So I know that the circle charts are intimidating to a lot of you. That's why I try to teach you, whether you follow me on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. If you've grabbed a reading with me, virtual readings, I cast your chart and I draw on your chart so that way you can understand exactly where I'm looking, what the notes are, and you can see it in real time as I'm talking about it. So with that said, I know it's intimidating, but let me explain what a new moon is. The new moon on your chart is where the sun, the one glyph that looks like a boob, and the moon, the glyph that looks like a moon, when they're in the same place, that is a new moon. When they're on opposite sides of each other, that's a full moon. Think of the light shining all the way across the chart. That's how you can remember, like, oh, okay, that's a full moon. So right now we have the sun and moon in one spot, right? In Leo. And so this new moon is very important because, yes, it's in Leo. Cool. We love that moment. But because it's also directly opposite Pluto in Aquarius, because Leo and Aquarius are on opposite sides of the chart. So we have Pluto in those beginning parts of Aquarius. And now we have the sun and moon on the opposite sides of the chart. So oppositions to Pluto are very hard truths, life altering revelations, decisions that change the trajectory of your life. Like that is this moment. This is the notification, like a bill is past due, but it's only in your spouse's name and you didn't realize that they even had this credit card or this bill or something like that, where you're like, the fuck is this? And it kind of changes the course of everything. I've definitely had those moments in my life. And as we go through different astrology, I'm sure I will share those experiences. Actually, today's kind of like the maiden voyage of like opening up to like my more painful sides. But yeah, this is emotionally, financially, energetically just complete pivot, right? You might uncover something today that rattles you, but also frees you, because Pluto doesn't care if you're ready. It's going to reveal the truth. When I was in school, and even to this day, I found it easy to like not pay attention to the world and quiet my brain, my very Virgo brain, if I put on Housewives in the background. And to this day, I love writing with the Real Housewives of said franchise playing in the background. And with this new moon in Leo, plus it being in opposition to Pluto, it made me think of when the Salt Lake City franchise was going out of town and they were outside of the one lady's business, and the feds stormed the van to pick up one of the cast members. And everyone was like, what the fuck is happening? It was like all of a sudden it was very jarring, very like new truths are coming out. So this new moon is less about like planting seeds and more about what is about to get unearthed and how is it going to change the trajectory, or at least the energy entirely. So if you love setting the new moon with an intentional journal prompt, I often have these for members of my son. And every week they get a tarot reading that's recorded for them and some thoughts or journal prompts to think about. So for this one, I made just for the podcast, and I want you to think about and sit on, what am I finally ready to see, even if it disrupts my plan? And that's a lot. I remember before all of this went down that I'm about to share with you, I would pull like 9 of swords, 10 of swords, 9 of swords, 10 of swords, even oracle cards, right? It's like sneaky things are about to happen. Better watch out. Are you protecting yourself? Da, da, da. And I thought I was living my best life. And I really didn't mean for this journal prompt to be the perfect segue. I thought about Uranus in Gemini, because shakeup is what it creates. And I'm talking about the most influential moment I've had in my business, because the 10th house rules what you do in like your career. It's also your legacy. It's not just career, but for the sake of this episode, we're looking at it from a position of the most public spot. The most seen part of your chart is your 10th house. It's the very top of the circle. And it's really where your calling is located. It's what you're meant to do publicly. And with Gemini in my 10th house, plus Chiron right on top of my midheaven. Midheaven is like a timing of like the highest part of your chart. Chiron is the biggest wound in my chart. So in my life, that's the thing that I think I heal over, and somebody goes boop and barely touches it. And then I'm like crying and sobbing again. So I'm diving straight into one of the most painful, undeniable moments in my life that completely changed the trajectory, and how seeing the truth clearly, unfiltered, led me to the freedom I live in now. This is about energetic disruption. This is the nervous system pressure, but with a purpose, because Uranus is disruption and Gemini is communication. So put that in the 10th house, and we've got public leadership overhaul coming in hot no matter what, whether we're ready for it or not. And if you've got Gemini in the 10th house, like I do, you're not meant to niche down. You're here to speak up, to communicate in your own multi-dimensional, non-linear, slightly chaotic at times kind of way. If you've ever seen an Instagram post of mine, you know that words just flow for me. I'm great at communicating really fucking hard concepts in ways that make sense, but I am notorious for having at least 1 to 3 like spelling errors in my shit. It drives me nuts. But here's the part nobody wants to admit. If you don't say it, Gemini 10th houses, it doesn't get said. Uranus in Gemini is like plugging in the lightning bolt into your throat chakra and asking, why are you still pretending? And this goes for anywhere Gemini is. Is Gemini in your 7th house, your house of marriage? That is going to look different. You need to be flexible in that area of your life. 7th house is also not just marriage. In financial astrology, it's also the clients you work with. So that's where you need to get flexible. Uranus, because it's the disruptor, tells you can't be so rigid with what you do. There can't be too much structure. We have to have some flexibility. Otherwise, it does get very disruptive. And I know this energy intimately too. Something massive cracked inside of me the last few months. Not because I planned it, but because Uranus, the energy of Uranus, internally handed me the mic and was like, all right, say that part you've never said out loud. So here it is. A few years ago, I walked into my business, the one I co-built, paid for new flooring, curated the furniture, paid for the furniture, painted all of the stuff by hand, put it on TikTok. I mean, even my sister-in-law designed the fucking logo for my business, you know? I learned how to do the peel and stick wallpaper here. I called the software developer to find software that worked for me and my former co-owner. And yeah, that day I walked in and everything was gone. Well, not gone. To their credit, not gone. All my shit was packed up and outside on the lawn. The locks were changed. There was a new security system being put in while I was there. The locksmith was there as well. The passwords, the staff, the lease was edited to take my name off of it. I was threatened with lawyers. And I went from making real money, I mean life-changing money, big, consistent income, to $0 overnight. No social media, no access, no explanation, and no voice. Every single person my former co-owner has burned since then, by the way, is in my DMs right away. I mean, employees, former best friends, fiancés, city officials, other business owners that are local to downtown, mutual friends we had. Some have tried to have me join in on their lawsuits. Some just needed to vent. You know, the cheesemate is always piping hot when they're in my DMs, but I truly leave all of those conversations telling them I'm sorry she burned them too, but that I have moved on. And it's true, because the work I do now, it's built for truth, not for survival. That old chapter was built to keep me small. The chapter that I'm writing now is built to expand. I actually opened that shop on my full moon. So in a progress chart, it's a special one that if we have a reading together, you're welcome to ask me to look at your progress chart, but it tells you what part of life you're in. Are you in the shittiest part of your life? Are you in the greatest part of your life? I opened, without knowing, my shop on the most illuminated time. I'm really grateful for that. It just kind of reinforced the timing of it all. You know, sometimes the concept of free will is a little far-fetched for me, because I'm like, if it's free will, then why is the exact date in my birth chart? Also with full moon, during that progress lunar phase, it's full illumination. Yes, I was at the peak of everything that I had been working for over the last 15 years. However, I also had full illumination on the bullshit too. When I think back to that, it is such a happy moment. But the Uranus transit, it's telling me to speak about the story, and not out of pain, but from a place of power. Now that you kind of learned a little bit about Gemini and Uranus, I want to talk about Uranus in Gemini, and not from a textbook perspective, but from what it feels like when it moves through your life. Not to destroy, but definitely to liberate. I want to share something I've never said out loud on a podcast, or really at all. I have friends that showed up, shout out to Vanessa and China, who showed up with their fucking trucks because it was just me and my daughter. And I had to move all my products, furniture. They helped me move everything, or almost everything. There was still a lot that was mine that was left there, but it's okay. A few years ago, I walked into the business and everything was gone. There was no warning here either, by the way. Not a fucking warning at all. And now I look at that Libra and I go, that's an unhealed Libra. The one who doesn't say the hard thing in order to keep the peace and be the harmonizer. But my former partner looked at me in the face and said, the whole time we've been working together, there's been this negative energy. Honestly, it just might be who you are. And how do I fucking know that? P.S. Because I am the fucking bone collector. I have every voicemail. I have every text. I have every card. I have every email correspondence. I have every bank account. I got a booklet behind me that details who made what every single day. And so thinking back to like, oh, she wasn't part of the ownership, then how do I have access to bank account records? It just blows my mind. But like, I had to sit getting ready for this podcast. I had to sit and, my plan is to not edit the fuck out of this story. And so I had to sit and listen to these things and read these things that I have not even looked at in years. And I realized we were legit talking about expansion 2 days before this. The plan was we were going to go together the week that this all went down, tour town and look for a larger property. And then we were also going to give a raise to one of our employees. And so when I asked, like, why is this happening? I got a Virgo mind, my moon's in Capricorn. So even emotionally, I'm looking for actual fucking facts. I am not coming with all of this emotion behind it. It felt. The fuck is it felt? What is the actual data showing any sort of negativity? Here's all of the text messages that I have where it's, I'm so happy for you. Like, I literally baked this person cookies the night before because she has always been very verbal about how she's not close to her family. And it was Father's Day. And I don't know, like I was just kind of feeling like some sort of way where maybe it was a nice gesture for us to bring that former co-owner in like family and like do something nice, like bake cookies. When I'm asking for actual data or something, not just feelings, right? She said, I don't owe you an explanation. I have a team that's been working on this, and it is what it is. You make me fearful of people because you lack. And then she went on to blame the people she hired too, that they moved too fast, transitioning me out of the store, that she was going to talk to me. She told me that I was intimidating. She said that I rushed her into opening the store, and I didn't bring her any joy. I was too dominating. Now, this part is really triggering to my Chiron because I am naturally a big person. If you've never met me in person, I am 6'4". So I got hips, there's 10-inch difference between my waist and my hips. But I have been told, like, whoa, you're so big. Oh, you're so big next to me. And there's this kind of underlying sentence of you're scary. This underlying sentence or energy of fucking freak show. Oh, okay, so back to this. It is triggering to my Chiron because I'm a big person, because internally, I genuinely want the best for people. Anyone that has met me in person knows I conduct myself in that way. I'm actually very proud of that I live in alignment where my heart wants the best for people. And that is also the energy that I give out into the world. I was kind of thinking about it when I was going through all this, because people would come into the store and comment that I was the nice one. And I'm purposely not using names, locations, or business names, but they would tell me, you're the nice, and enter one. And I'd fucking defend my co-owner, by the way, and go, oh, you just don't know her, you know? Boy, did I pay for that. But anyway, this statement that was thrown at me, that I'm intimidating and dominant, I was raised to be confident. I used to get bullied because I was different. Now, did I make money modeling with it? Yes. Did I get opportunities because I had a pretty face? Yes. I can say that. But I was raised to be confident. I'm aware of my stature. I understand how me looking different makes other people feel uncomfortable. It's just like everybody has told me how different I am. And I've worked my entire life to just try to fit in, to not be different. I mean, up until I hit my 30s and into 40s, like that no longer became a thing. But I think it conditioned me to, in certain situations, kind of shrink, so that way I didn't scare people. That way I wasn't seen as so different, or this thing that people couldn't even focus on anything else except for me. So my Chiron in Gemini in my business was very triggered when she said I was intimidating, because I'm communicating kindness at every point, and you're saying I'm intimidating to the point it's ruining your fucking life? Like, the fuck? When I said it was manipulative to smile in my face and also be planning behind my back to pack all my shit and remove me from everything, she says, I know, but it's what I needed to do. And I'll never fucking forget what followed that sentence, because she handed me a piece of paper. It was in an envelope. I still have it behind me in all of my records. And it offered me $2,000 to sign an NDA. Her whole thing was, I'll give you money back that you invested in the shop, even though it wasn't close to the amount, if you sign this NDA. And she asked to agree not to talk bad about each other, because, as she said, I'm just not that person to speak bad about you. I want the best for you. As she's fucking doing this, like, the gaslighting is fucking unreal. Hush money for my own story. I didn't take the NDA. I didn't take the money, even though I fucking needed it. Okay? Because even in that moment when I had nothing in my mind, right? I had nothing. I still knew that my voice is the only thing she can't take. But here's the part I never said until now. I didn't speak out, not because I wasn't right, but because I was ashamed. She told people I never even owned the business. Now I look like a fucking psychopath. She positioned me as being bitter. She weaponized the silence and spun a narrative where she looked like the boss and I looked like the fucking crash out. And I didn't have the strength then to fight it. Because remember this, it wasn't just pack your shit. She cut off my cash flow too. And when you are a mom suddenly at $0 with no income coming in, but I had no income, no team, no spouse, no legal support. You don't get to defend your character when you're in that position. You're too busy surviving. So I did what I had to do. I went quiet. I rebuilt. I thank everybody who showed up for me. My assistant Bard, who actually worked at the shop. And we had text messages where my former business partner told me what a fucking snake he was on the message, on the interaction that I recorded, but then wrote him a couple days later and was like, hey, I know this is weird, but do you still want to, work together? Would you like to work here? And I appreciate him having my back, because he stood by me. And to this day, All these years later, he is still my assistant to this day. And more than that, he is my friend to this day. I'm out here building long-term things. That employee we were going to give a raise to, she hit me up too. She hit me up. She apologized. She was like, I knew this wasn't the case, but why would she lie? You know, I appreciate that too. And as I rebuilt, I had one of my customers, actually, her name's Jasmine. She's the Inked Intuitive on TikTok. I really fucking appreciate her because I kind of like, it's making me tear up. Because I had this store, so I had burned all these bridges with market people and stuff like that. And I got a little girl to feed. I have a brand new mortgage. I have all of these fucking bills. You know, there's a lot, right? She hit me up and was like, hey, there's this pop-up that I do monthly. It's like a spiritual pop-up. Would you like to do that? And I have never been so happy to have the support, you know, to have her reach out. Like, that was just pure kindness. And I'm very grateful to still see her to this day. And it's nothing but goodwill between both of us. I want the best for her. She wants the best for me. And I truly know that. But it was just so hard to know that I not burned every bridge because it wasn't ugly, but I just stopped doing markets. Why do I need to do markets? I have a store. And then to be like, oh shit, now I got to start back at the bottom. As I'm climbing the ladder, I was the one that people are reaching out. Hey, do you want to do this market, this market? But now I have no store and they stopped calling me and now I have to start over. So I started again from scratch. Years of reclaiming my voice, rebuilding my confidence, reactivating my nervous system, and doing the work I actually want to do now. I went to therapy twice a week because there's a whole second part to this story that doesn't have to do with this other than it kind of put a snowball into effect. That I will definitely talk about in another episode, but you know, I had a lot of rebuilding to do. I felt ashamed. You know, I felt like I was a role model in giving my daughter some perspective and something to want to strive to be. Like I was that role model. Like I fucking did that. But when it's all gone, like there's a lot that you have to rebuild. So I started doing therapy twice a week. I did every fucking market, private event, wholesale people, like whatever I could. I appreciate meeting Rose of the Stinking Rose because in that first year, she said, you know, I really loved what you did with that space and I would love to host your, you know, herbs in my store that I am creating. That was probably the first time I had talked about it with anyone besides my two best friends who helped me, you know, get all the stuff, and Bard. That is pretty much everybody I had talked to about it. It was so much work. It was so much work. And I am doing what I want to now. And that's why this Uranus transit hit me the way it did. Not to remind me of this fucking trauma, but to say, you're not there anymore. You're not frozen. You're not silenced. You're not small. You don't need to explain it perfectly. You're allowed to just speak about it now. It showed me a wound I originally built my business around. And now that I'm on this side, I'm actually grateful for that angry, messy, manipulative person that I knew, right? Because I always hope, look at, even as shitty as the person was, right, to me, I always hope people grow. And so the person I knew may not be the person today. I will say my DMs beg to differ, but it's okay. But because that experience stripped everything I thought made me proud, my income, my audience, my home, my status as a business owner in my town, and left me with the only thing that was ever real, me, my voice. And that disruptive truth that I found out all of a sudden really took me back into myself. This shitty thing, to say the least, didn't mean I failed like I thought it did. I, me, not me plus somebody else. I forged the woman I am today. The business I lead now, the voice I'm finally using on my own terms. So if you have ever been silenced or steamrolled or gaslit or manipulated out of your own power in any part of your life, let this be proof. They can take away the platform, but they can't take away the message. Ugh, that was really heavy. And I know that there's certain aspects to that story that I'm excited to tell you guys about because it's not all doom and gloom. Actually, up until that day, it was the best time of my life. I thought it was at least. I have so many cooler stories now, but you know, people I've met because of that opportunity, clients that I still have to this day, even just opening day or learning things from my former co-owner. These are all important stories that can absolutely be tracked astrologically, and I can't wait to share those with you. But before I pull the cards for clarity this week, let's talk about ways that we can work together. As always, I have virtual readings. You just go to my website, themedicinalmelange.com, click on astrology readings, and it'll say virtual or in person. You're going to go ahead and click virtual. Why? Because first of all, I get to explain the chart. And like I said, I write on it. I'm putting arrows, putting notes on your chart. It's like recording all of our reading, and then you get to download it later on so that way you can reference back to it. This week, I had somebody hit me up and was like, hey, I forgot to download that recording. Do you still have it? Because you gave me this date and told me this would happen. And that's exactly what happened. And, I love messages like that because I do have access to these recordings and, you get to download them and reference back to them for either the rest of the year, or if it's a quarterly astrology reading where we meet every 3 months, you get all 3 months to look back at everything. I love doing medical astrology readings. That lights my soul on fire. The medicinal melange means the medicinal mixture because melange is French for mixture. It's where I get to mix astrology, behavioral psychology, clinical herbalism, intuition, and messages from your guides all in one. I love medical astrology readings. I also have Mercury retrograde readings that start today until August 11th. So if you're wondering what Mercury retrograde has in store for you, Leo, Gemini, Virgo, especially these placements, those fixed signs as well, what's going on and what's on the horizon for you, I would definitely book a Mercury retrograde reading. If you're into working with me in person, you can see me this Saturday at Silver Moon Curios from 11 to, I'm there pretty much the entire day. I'm available for walk-ins, but pre-booking is always my favorite because it guarantees I can have your chart, maybe get some extra time to look at it, and you get a guaranteed slot so you're not having to wait for your turn in line. On Sunday and every Sunday, you can catch me at Deja Vu Esoterica here in San Antonio. I am in the reading room from 11 to 3 every Sunday. I am available in increments of time, so it's just however much time you want to book. You want 11 minutes? Great. If you want 44 minutes, also great. But I also have besties readings and couples readings too. I will tell you, I have a lot of people on first, second, third dates that love to come for the couples reading. So if you're planning a date for Sunday, come out and see me. Next Saturday at Deja Vu Esoterica, I am teaching a financial astrology class called The Receiving Frequency. You can get your ticket on themedicinalmelange.com in the search bar. It is a financial astrology class where I talk about how different placements in your chart are going to give you ideas as far as what your true career that would light your soul on fire and just make you so fulfilled. What is that? Or how you show up as a worker and what your strengths and weaknesses are. How capitalism affects you mentally, emotionally, physically as well. Where you could expand and grow, hidden money in your chart. All of these things that kind of flow together because at the end of the day, even though I'm a medical astrologer, I love financial astrology because in our capitalist society, finances this social construct deeply affects our medical, our physical, our emotional body symptoms. So that's kind of where I just have this natural love for financial astrology. And I love teaching others about it, not only for people who work in the corporate world, but also people that are looking to start their own business. Your brand colors are right in your chart. Your message and who your best clients are right in your chart. So I have about 5 more seats available for that class. So go to themedicinalmelange.com and grab your tickets there. So for the final segment, I just thought we would pull some cards, and I wanted to pull from the Mirror Oracle deck. It's a very beautiful deck. It has this like shiny gloss to it, but the rest is matte black, and I just really love it. As I was shuffling before we even started, I was like, what do I need to hear? What do you need to hear? Because I know if I need to hear it, somebody out there needs to hear it too. The card that I pulled from the Mirror Oracle deck, or rather that jumped out of the deck, is Phases. And it has this beautiful moth on the front with 2 moon crescents on each side. So it almost looks like the triple moon, but with the moth in the middle. And per the book, it says phases. Symbols are Luna moth and the moon. Associations are number 24 and 6. It means transformation and cycles. Like the moon, many things in our lives operate in cycles as they change. For some, the cycles are predictable, timely, and orderly. For others, they can be so erratic they are not even viewed as cyclical unless one takes time to step back and observe the patterns taking place. Some cycles can feel cruel in how brief they are. The Luna moth lives for approximately a week as an adult and does not feed in this time, laying their eggs or breeding before passing away. What are the phases of our lives? And what new transitions do we find ourselves in the midst of now? Phases reminds us that we are always transforming. And I love this because I really feel like I have made that natural order. And also, it's just nice because this morning I picked a pair of earrings. I love really like over the top. I'm wearing the ones that not only have a sun on them, but they also have the Luna moth in the middle. So the more you know. I love that. Well, thank you guys for being here. I'm sorry I cried. And next week, I'm going to be kicking back into the astrology types and the best herbs and workouts and just, movement styles that you can do per zodiac. So far, I've already gone through Aries through Leo, which is pretty cool because we're coming up on Leo season. But next week, I'm going to go into Virgo, which if you have caught my TikTok or my Instagram lately, you know I am a super Virgo. So I'm very excited about it because we definitely look alike. I was watching WWE the other day. I was like, that motherfucker's a Virgo. And Aaron laughed at me and I was like, no, watch. And then I looked up his birth date. Totally a Virgo. I will tell you how to spot a Virgo from afar. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.